Hey guys, tonight we're going all the way back to ancient Egypt, not to the grand pyramids or golden tombs, but to the muddy, fragrant, slightly suspicious-smelling banks of the Nile, where real work happened before the sun even dared open its eyes. You wake in pitch darkness, except for the faint blue shimmer of stars still clinging to the edge of the sky. Your mat is itchy, your knees crack. You've slept in the same shift for 4 days, and you already know today's laundry will involve at least 3 different types of beetle residue. You stretch. Bad idea. Your spine protests like a pharaoh's cat left out in the cold, but you swing your feet over the edge of the woven mat anyway, because the Nile waits for no one, especially not laundry slaves. You stumble outside, bucket in one hand, bundle of linen in the other, half mumbling your usual, "Nile, don't eat me, curse me, or flood me. I've got temple robes to clean and a headache to match." So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, while you're listening, drop your location and local time in the comments. Let's see who's laundering history with us at 2 a.m. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The path to the river is warm under your bare feet, already breathing heat from the day before. Clay huts disappear behind you. Reeds on both sides hiss like they've got something to say, and they probably do. There's always gossip by the water. You pass another laundry slave, her eyes half shut, her shoulder hunched under a woven basket. You nod. She grunts. It's the ancient Egyptian version of morning. By the time you reach the banks, the sky is pink and purple, bleeding slowly into gold. The river laps quietly, as if remembering dreams. You whisper your first words to it, the way you were taught. Nile, wide-bellied and watchful. Take stains, take smells, take sins. Give me back linen, light, and peace. It's a silly rhyme, but you don't skip it. No one does. Even in 1460 BCE, even with Pharaoh's court wrapped in scented silk and pretending linen dries itself, everyone knows, if you don't speak to the Nile, your whole batch might come out smelling like goat breath. Or worse, might not come out at all. You crouch and splash your face with river water, hoping it'll wake you up without summoning leeches. It does. Barely. Your tools wait in a half-buried basket. Round stones for beating, a wooden paddle, a few hunks of soap clay, and a sprig of something green that smells like mint and onion. Had an awkward child. You tuck it behind your ear. Tradition. Nearby, a crocodile slides off a rock and into the river with a grunt that's far too close for comfort. You freeze, but it keeps swimming. Historians still argue whether Nile crocodiles were more afraid of humans or just too lazy to care, unless you looked especially tender. Behind you, someone spits in the mud and mutters, "Good omen. Crocodile didn't eat you." You flash a weak smile. It's not that you're afraid, it's just when your job is to kneel at the riverbank all day, slapping Pharaoh's undershorts against wet rocks, you start to take omens seriously. The linens in your bundle are stiff with old sweat and ceremonial oils. You unroll the first one fine weave, dyed faint yellow, and whisper again, "Don't judge me by your stains. That's more for you than the linen." A donkey brays somewhere behind the huts. A few palm trees sway in the breeze, just enough to remind you that the sun's coming and soon it'll be hot enough to boil cabbage just by looking at it. You dip the cloth in the water. It sucks in Nile like a sponge desperate for gossip. As you start scrubbing, you wonder, did the high priest really wear this when he accidentally tipped over the sacred wine jug? That story's been making the rounds since last week. They say the temple goat drank half of it and tried to mate with a statue. You smirk, then realize you're smiling at Pharaoh's ceremonial sash. You stop. A breeze stirs. Better show some respect. Linen has memory, after all, or so the old launderers say. Scrubbing is rhythm. Beat, twist, rinse, repeat. Your shoulders ache. Your knuckles go raw, but you find a kind of calm in it. The same way some people hum to pass time, you murmur a little laundry prayer. By water, by stone, by soap of the earth, let what was spoiled be clean again. Mainstream records from tomb walls show laundry slaves were considered essential but invisible. Your name likely won't be remembered, but your work. If the pharaoh's robes gleam, that's you. If the temple virgins wear flawless whites, that's you. If the generals march in spotless linen, it's still you. And nobody ever thanks the river. You glance downstream. Two girls are chasing a duck with a basket. One trips, falls, and laughs. The duck wins. You rub a grease stain with extra pressure, probably from roasted hippo meat. You wish that was a joke. But last week, the palace chef served it on golden platters. You know, because the leftover bones ended up in your alley. As you wring out the linen, a fish jumps silver-scaled and panicked. You pause. The Nile, for all its gifts, is always watching. You wonder what it thinks of you, another human scraping suds into its belly, begging for forgiveness over someone else's spilled wine, still kneeling, still quiet. You glance up. The sun's peeking over the horizon now. Light hits the river like melted bronze. And just for a second, before the real heat begins, you feel seen. Not by Pharaoh, not by scribes, by the Nile. And somehow, that's enough. You carry the basket now emptied of its first load. Damp linen folded as best you can manage with arms that feel more like wet rope than muscle. The second batch waits by the reed gate. The soiled pile, the real horror show. This is the rag picker's oath in action. You took it when you were barely tall enough to lift a wash paddle, not formally, not in some ceremony with drums and incense. No, it was whispered to you by a cousin who worked 3 years before her back gave out. You sort the filth, and you sort it fast, she said. You don't flinch. You don't ask what the stain is. And you never, ever smell it on purpose. So you begin. There's always a pattern: outer robes first, then tunics, then the deeply personal stuff. And if you're very unlucky, the chamber cloths. These are not for the faint-hearted. These are the linen rectangles that lived under someone's body all night and came away with stories. You sort by texture and smell, not just color. Some stains are crunchy, some are slick, some are sticky in a way that makes you mentally check for gloves you do not own. Historians still argue whether ancient Egyptians used gloves during laundry work, or whether everyone just accepted raw hands as part of the deal. You lean toward the latter. By the flickering light of your oil lamp, you whisper little curses under your breath, not at the garments, but at the people who wore them. Lady Ishtar, may your wine cup always have a hair in it. Priest Kiba, may your sandals squeak in every hallway. The oil runs low, casting flickering shadows across the reed mat. The white linen turns sepia, the colors of damp papyrus and bad decisions. Then comes the counting. You count everything. 4 sashes, 2 headcloths, 6 body wraps, 1 item you suspect is neither linen nor clean. But you log it anyway because someone will accuse you of stealing if it doesn't show up later. The worst accusation a launderer can face isn't incompetence, it's theft or sorcery, but mostly theft. There's a little boy in your crew, maybe 8 years old, smells like riverweed and has the best ears in the city. He pops into your hut as you finish sorting. Temple says someone stole Mistress Heket's nightdress. You groan. You've seen that dress? Thin as mist, dyed soft lavender, embroidered with lotus buds at the hem. Probably cost more than your mother's house. She probably slept on it. You mutter. Many shrugs. They're searching every hut. That's enough to make your stomach twist. You glance at your sorted pile. Clean things on the left, cursed things on the right. You nudge the latter under the edge of your mat, just in case. Outside, footsteps splash in the wet sand. Voices raised. You hear someone yelp. You hate this part of the job. Laundry slaves are invisible until something goes missing. Then suddenly you're suspicious. Even the reed mat under your feet feels accusatory. You pull the basket over your lap as a shadow moves past your doorway. Just a patrol, no one stops. Not this time. But you know someone in your crew will get slapped, or worse, for this. And it won't be the one who actually took anything, if anything was taken at all. Historians know surprisingly little about the legal status of laundry slaves. Some were household servants, others rented out by temple bureaucrats. But few left records, fewer still left names. You whisper again, low and sharp this time. Nile, wash away the blame. Keep me below the shouts. It's not poetic, but it works. The sun is higher now, leaking through your hut's doorway like thick honey. Time to move. You lift the first of the soiled robes and cradle it like an enemy child. Outside, you rejoin the other launderers. The air is already heavy. Flies are circling the soap crates. You spot one girl, the oldest in the group, staring at a tunic with a frown so deep it could drown a frog. Poison stain, she mutters. You blink. From what? Probably the wine again, she says, or the perfume oil. Smells like cedar, but meaner. You sniff and regret it immediately. She's right. It has that sick, sweet smell of something that wants to be luxurious, but ends up more like embalming fluid. There's a myth that certain perfumes in the palace were so strong they had to be laundered out using special rituals, not just soap. Some say the recipe came from a priestess who could make linen scream. You wonder if this tunic came from that recipe. You beat the fabric against a slab of sandstone, harder than you should, hoping no one is watching. The foam turns grayish-pink. You whisper an apology to the river and rinse again. A sharp voice cuts through the heat. Who took Mistress Hecat's dress? No one answers. The inspector stalks past. Heavy bracelets, pointed shoes, that oily kind of power. You keep your eyes down. A good laundry slave is 30% strength, 70% invisibility. After a pause, the inspector sniffs, quite literally, and turns away. You exhale. Minnie shoots you a thumbs up from behind a heap of drying towels. It's ridiculous, and it makes you grin. You return to your basket, picking up the last robe from the soiled pile. It's embroidered with lapis thread, a priest's robe, sacred, supposedly immune to filth. You hold it up. A large yellow blotch ruins the front panel. You laugh, just once, sharp. Then slap the robe onto your rock with a thwack that echoes. So much for sacred. The baskets are heavier now, not just from soaked linen, but from the knowledge that somewhere in this pile, a dress worth more than your yearly food is supposedly hiding. You'd almost respect whoever managed to pinch it, if it weren't for the fact that now every breath feels like it's being taxed. You hoist the bundle onto your hip and head toward the river path. It winds like a lazy snake along the water's edge, half choked with reeds and whispering papyrus. You duck under a crooked fig tree whose roots like to trip people on purpose, or so everyone claims. You don't argue with the trees this close to the Nile. Not after what happened to Petek's cousin. The river smells different here. Less like water, more like life stewing, algae, frogs, something that might be onions, and something that definitely isn't. You spot your usual washing spot ahead, flat stones placed like a poor man's altar. Around it, clusters of launderers work in rhythm, slapping linen, chatting, and occasionally shrieking when a river crab gets too friendly. This section of the river is mostly safe. Mostly, you settle onto your rock, knees already protesting. Before you begin, you reach down and trail your fingers in the water. It's warmer now, not welcoming, just resigned. You murmur, like always, river wide, river deep, keep my stains and let me sleep. It's not an official prayer, it's just yours. Nearby, someone coughs. It's Hanu, the old man who washes only noblemen's cloths. They say he once laundered for a royal scribe who took his linens into the afterlife. Not the scribe, just the linens. Hanu spits and asks, "You hear about the girl at Dock 9? Claims she saw a fish with a human face." You sigh. What did it say? Stop scrubbing so hard. Apparently, you snort. Sounds like someone projecting. Someone else joins in. My fish just tells me to get a real job. That gets a ripple of tired laughter. It's the kind of joke that hangs on your back like sunburn. Because, let's face it, there's no realer job than scrubbing another person's sweat out of their clothes while trying not to lose fingers to river creatures. You dunk a tunic and begin the rhythm. Slap, twist, slap, ring. One garment in your basket stands out. Coarse weave, red-stained, heavy in a way that makes your stomach tighten. It's not blood. Probably. You've washed worse. But this one has weight, not just mass. Like, it's carried through things that shouldn't be remembered. You scrub anyway, harder than necessary. Then harder still, you are not supposed to cry in public. Laundry tears are seen as weakness or worse. A curse. They say if a washer weeps into the Nile, the garment never comes clean. But the tears don't come, just sweat, which you count as progress. Historians know ancient Egypt was big on cleanliness, ritual baths, perfumed cones, pristine linen. But what's left out is this. Behind every alabaster white robe in the temple was someone like you cracked hands, sun-chapped lips, knees permanently damp, and almost none of them had names carved into walls. You think about that while rinsing the red cloth again. The stain lifts, slowly, like it's giving up out of boredom more than surrender. Across the bank, two women argue. Something about swapped linen. One accuses the other of marking hers with a secret symbol, a circle with a dot in Nile middle used by some as a spell to keep garments from getting stolen, or stained, or seen. You've drawn it before, on the inside hem, just in case. Not because you believe it works, but because doing something feels better than doing nothing. That's most of this job. Really, repetition wrapped in superstition. You finish the load, stack it neatly on a reed mat you stole from a broken fence. That's the kind of theft no one checks for. Next come the noble's undergarments, softer linen, finer stitching, and more perfume than cloth. You don't even need to scrub them. Just a few rinses and a whisper of soap. But you still hold them like they might bite. Once, a boy in your crew bragged about tearing a noble's undercloth and sewing it back together with camel hair. It lasted 3 days before it split open in the middle of a public feast. He disappeared the next week. No one asked questions. A small boat passes by, just offshore. A barge with a canopy, shaded and elegant. Some official inside being fanned with palm fronds. Probably, you recognize the crest on the cloth house of Raquette, known for their dyed silks and their absolute intolerance for wrinkles. Your back straightens. You pretend to be extra careful. Someone might be watching. In fact, you suspect someone always is. But the moment passes, the boat drifts away. You allow yourself one deep sigh and one short prayer. Let no wrinkles rise. Let no eyes rise. Just then, a breeze lifts your damp tunic. It smells better. Clean. You'd call that a small victory. Then, splashing. You spin. Many again soaked, grinning, and holding up a fish. He blinked at me. He says proudly, "That's a rockfish." He still blinked. You roll your eyes, but your smile betrays you. This is the in-between time. The hour where the worst of the day hasn't yet arrived. But your muscles think otherwise. The light sharpens. The birds get meaner. You have at least 6 more loads to go. And one of them involves temple incense robes, which means extra rinsing and probably another prayer. You pick up your paddle, more linen waits. The river watches, and your fingers are just getting started. You kneel again. This time, the fabric you reach for is folded in a bundle wrapped with a scarlet reed tie. That means royal issue, not from Pharaoh himself. No, if that ever happened. You'd be given gloves, a guard, and maybe a curse removal charm for safety. But this bundle is close enough. Undershirts, royal ones, the kind that rest beneath layers of linen and gold, against the skin of nobles who haven't scrubbed a thing in their lives. You lift one. It's light as breath. Finer than anything you've touched this week. Woven so tight it looks almost sheer. But then you notice sweat lines under the arms, a wine splotch by the left hip, and something that smells faintly like garlic and regret. You begin the usual ritual, not a state ritual yours. A tap on each corner of the cloth. One clockwise loop in the water. A quiet chant. Don't tear, don't fray, don't float away. It doesn't do anything, of course, except calm your nerves. Royal garments require delicacy. If you tug too hard, it stretches. If you use soap that's too coarse, it scratches. And if it snags on a stone well, you might as well walk into the crocodile pit yourself. You adjust your posture, even though your back already feels like it's made of sand. As you scrub, you picture who wore this. Maybe some soft-palmed boy from the court, posing with a bronze sword he never used. Maybe a girl with eyebrows painted on and a voice sharp enough to slice figs. Whoever it was, they danced. You can tell by the wine stain's splash arc. Historians agree the Egyptian elite had an obsession with hygiene. But what they rarely say is this. Even royal armpits sweat. Even court dancers spill drinks. And even Pharaoh's favorite nephew probably had an accident in the middle of a festival. You scrub a little harder. Suddenly, a fish splashes too close. You flinch. The shirt almost slips. You gasp. Grab it, just in time. A nearby washer laughs. That shirt costs more than your spine, she says, wringing out a tunic with far less ceremony. You scowl. You jealous of the shirt. She grins. Maybe. It travels more than I do. You can't argue with that. By the third shirt, your rhythm returns. Scrub, swirl, ring. Your arms hum with the dull ache of repetition. The river gives a warm sigh. It's late morning now, and the water's thick with light. Each ripple glows amber. The Nile has moods. Right now, she's in her dreamy phase. You reach the last shirt in the royal bundle and pause. It's been patched, very slightly, under one sleeve, with thread just half a tone off. Not visible unless you're this close. But you see it. That's odd. Nobles don't patch, they discard. You trace the stitch with your thumb. Someone cared about this shirt, enough to mend it instead of tossing it. You wonder, a servant's secret act, a noble's favorite garment, a mistake. Historians still debate whether mending was common among the elite. Tomb art doesn't show it, but surviving linen fragments often bear tiny repair work, evidence of pride, or poverty, or just practicality. You gently lower it into the rinse basin. No extra soap, just cool water and the whisper of your breath as you let it soak. For whoever saved this shirt, you think, may your stitch hold. A breeze kicks up. The papyrus leaves rustle in unison. A kind of applause. Maybe. You stand slowly careful with your knees and lay each piece of the royal bundle on the drying line. Stretched reed fiber cord tied between two boulders, the sun hits the fabric and it shimmers like fish scales. You can't help but feel proud. Just a little, even if no one sees this work. The Nile does. The river watches everything. Then you hear it, a wet thump, then a splash, then Manny's unmistakable yelp. I didn't do it. You rush over. He's standing ankle deep, holding up his hands. Behind him, a dark blue linen tunic floats just out of reach, sinking fast. What happened? You ask. It slipped. The paddle knocked it, or maybe it jumped. You groan and kick off your sandals into the water. The current tugs immediately playful, not dangerous. Yet, you wade after the tunic, heart pounding. It's the wrong color. That shade of blue means temple wear. Sacred, maybe even enchanted. Losing it would be bad, really bad. You lunge. Grab it just as it sinks. Victory. But it's heavy. The embroidery along the hem is soaked, dragging it down like an anchor. You haul it back, dripping. To shore. Manny looks at the tunic, then at you. It's cursed now, right? You shake your head. Not cursed, just wet. He nods, solemn. Same thing. Back at your rock, you lay the rescued tunic flat, smoothing the edges. The embroidery glints tiny lotuses, fading into fish scales near the hem. You've seen this pattern before. Temple of Khnum, water god. Fitting. You pat it gently. Sorry for the swim. Someone behind you snorts. You talk to linen. You glance back. Don't you? She grins. Only when it talks first. You return to your work, but now the mood has shifted. The Nile has taken something, then given it back. Not quite a warning, but not kindness either. A reminder. Maybe you're a guest here. Always. The sun shifts again. Shadows shorten. You can smell fish being grilled upriver. And baked lentils. Your stomach grumbles. But you don't stop yet. Royal undershirts are drying. Temple tunics need care. And your hands? Still busy, still strong, still wrinkled like old figs. Your fingers are pruning now, little folds like wilted petals curling at every joint. You stretch them, feel the sting soap in sand in every line of your skin. It's time to refresh the lye mix. You reach for the tools, a small basket of ash clumps, a chunk of crushed soapwort root, and a leather pouch filled with fine, sharp sand. And nestled in the corner, a dried herb bundle wrapped in red string. You pause. The herb smells weird, like basil that forgot what century it was. You give it a cautious sniff. Don't inhale too deep, says a voice over your shoulder. It's Hanu again, shaking water from his elbows. That's temple brew, soap, sand, and the pink root. Strong stuff. You eye the bundle, the one that causes hallucinations or removes stains. He shrugs. Historians still argue. Either way, your laundry ends up spotless or your soul does. You decide to risk it. You crumble a pinch of the root into your lye basin. It floats for a moment, then sinks like a secret. The water turns cloudy. Not white, not gray, just uncertain, like it knows things. You dip the first tunic. It foams instantly. That's good. Probably, as you work, a girl near you. Amira pulls up a sleeve to reveal a rash creeping along her wrist. Too much soapweed, she mutters. Again, you nod. Laundry rash is an accepted truth. The joke is, if your skin's still smooth, you're not scrubbing hard enough. You reach for the sand just a little and rub it into the next cloth alongside the foam. Sharp, grainy, brutal, but it works. This robe is particularly stubborn. You can smell it through the lye. Fish oil, no sandalwood. And ox bile, you sigh. Another temple robe, used in sacrifice, and no one ever warns the laundry crew what was spilled on it. You remember last season, when someone fainted after scrubbing a robe that had absorbed embalming fluid, the priest simply said, "The cloth remembers." As if that helped, you dig your thumbs into the weave and whisper, "Out, out, whatever you are, be it goat, blood, or dinner." The foam grows pink, which is either progress or a problem. Amira leans over. You ever wonder what these robes see? You blink. Sorry. She grins. I mean, imagine being worn during some secret temple rite, then tossed in a pile and handed to us. That robe probably knows things. You smirk. Like which priest is stealing honey cakes? Exactly. You rinse the cloth, letting the river take the pink away. The robe is cleaner now. Not perfect, but close. Then you pull out your favorite tool, a round stone, smooth from years of river polish. Some washers use paddles. You prefer this. Feels more personal, like talking to the cloth with your hands. You beat another tunic rhythmically. Slap, turn, slap, rinse. It's almost music. You hum as you go. A little tune your grandmother used to sing while shelling beans. Sand on my fingers, sun on my face. River take trouble, river leave grace. The girl next to you joins in. Soon, 3 others pick it up. The melody drifts along the bank, weaving between snapping reeds and dragonflies. Even the river listens. The tune dies down slowly. One by one, voices stop. Back to the work. You reach into your basin and pull out a surprise. A golden brooch tangled in the hem of a linen wrap. You freeze. It's not huge, just a small clasp shaped like a lotus. Delicate, clearly expensive. You look around. No one's watching. Not yet. You could pocket it, but you don't. You set it gently aside, on a clean rag, under your water gourd, just in case someone comes looking, or just in case your better self wins out in the end. As you continue scrubbing, your arms start to burn. Not in the good. I've been productive, way in the my muscles are about to resign. Way. You pause. Take a drink. Let the cool water slide down your throat, sweet and muddy. Then something odd. The foam in your basin shifts, just slightly. A shape, maybe a face. You blink. It's gone. Hallucination. The pink root. You look over at Amira. Hey, you ever see shapes in the suds? She squints at her basin. Only when I'm cursed. You smile nervously. Right, cursed. It's probably just the root, or the heat, or maybe you didn't sleep well last night. Still, you drain the basin carefully, just in case. Lunch bells ring upriver, distant gongs from the temple kitchens. Everyone groans. You can't eat yet. You've got one more robe. The worst one. Stiff, reeking of incense, honey, and smoke. A ceremonial wrap. You hold it up. A burn hole near the edge. Scorch marks down the side. Someone danced too close to the offering flame. You smile, despite yourself. Bet that was dramatic. You drop it into the lye. It hisses. Perfect. You scrub slowly this time, not to avoid damage, but because you're tired. The good kind. Earned. A breeze picks up. Papyrus leaves whisper again. You swear you hear them say, almost done. You wring out the wrap and place it beside the golden brooch. One of the temple boys comes trotting down, panting. Did anyone find a clasp? Lady Henanit is crying again. You nod. Point. He gasps, snatches it up. Thanks, you, and bolts. You don't move. Just watch the ripples where your basin used to be. The pink foam's gone. Only clear water now. You exhale. You're wringing out the last of the temple wraps when the seagulls arrive, dozens of them, flapping in low, honking waves like they own the entire riverbank. One lands near your drying line, gives your damp tunic a judgmental stare, and waddles off with the self-importance of a palace scribe. You sigh. Time for the midday gossip shift. around you. Other washers settle into their rhythm of half working, half talking. Some call it drying time. Others, more honestly, call it mouth time. You sit beside Amira again, her arms crossed over her knees, eyes scanning the horizon like a soldier on break. Her lips curl into a grin. Did you hear about the linen thief who stole only underclothes from the house of Iset? You raise an eyebrow. Why just underclothes? He said they smelled better than the priestesses. You cough-laugh. And what happened to him? Made to scrub chamber pots for a month? Fair. Many plops down between you both, soaking wet again. Doc 9, he says dramatically, has a curse. Amira rolls her eyes. That's what you said yesterday. No, this time it's real. A goose chased someone into the river. You snort. That's not a curse. That's a goose. But the goose had intent. He insists. You chuckle, shaking your head. Somewhere downriver, someone yells at a mule. A fabric flap snaps loudly in the wind, followed by the unmistakable sound of a paddle being flung into the water in frustration. You lean back on your elbows. Just for a moment, your hands ache. Your lower back hums with dull fire, and your mouth tastes like Nile fog and soap. But here, under the sun, surrounded by sweat, gossip, and seagull judgment, you feel, all right, tired in the exact shape of your own life. Nearby, a girl named Tet brushes lint from a tunic and starts whispering. You tilt your head to listen. She said the goddess Nephthys disguised herself as a washer once. Tet murmurs. Walked among the river folk. Said she liked it better than the palace. Why? Amira asks. Tet shrugs. Said we understand death better. A silence settles. Then many chirps. I bet she didn't have to clean pit sweat. The silence cracks like a dropped amphora. You all burst out laughing. A genuine ripple that washes over the river's edge. Even a goose honks in rhythm. The thing is, stories like this keep you sane. The idea that the gods sometimes lower themselves to your work. To your world, it's soothing. It makes the endless scrubbing feel less endless. Historians still argue whether such myths had real religious weight or were just the poor man's bedtime stories. But for you, it doesn't matter. If Tet wants to believe that a goddess knelt where you're kneeling, scrubbing out roasted date stains with her divine fingers, let her. Let you. Back to work. You haul a damp robe from the line. It's dry enough. You fold it with practiced care, tucking each corner like a papyrus scroll. You have your own method, your mother's fold, crisp and precise. As you stack the garments, something catches your eye, a faint stain on the corner of a tunic that should have been clean. You squint, red, small, fresh. You sniff it, not blood, not wine. Lip stain. You sigh, nobles and their secrets. You rub at it again with your damp rag, muttering, next time, aim for the cheek, not the collar. There's a rhythm to this gossip too, not just in words, but in linens. A rip means a fight. A bloodstain means a party got too wild. A missing clasp means either romance or petty theft. You learn to read fabric like others read stars. You pass a group of older women tying bundles for delivery. One of them, Sepha, leans close and whispers, there's a linen inspector coming this evening. High-ranking, temple side. You freeze mid-fold. Why? Because someone's been cutting corners. They're testing for false rinses. False rinses. When a washer skips the final step to save water or time, you've never done it, but you've thought about it, especially during sandstorms or feast week when the load triples. You nod. Thanks, Sepha shrugs. Just don't let them see your drying lines too neat. Makes you look suspicious. You blink. How does being good at your job make you suspicious? She grins. You're asking the Nile to explain bureaucracy now. The sun shifts again, just a touch. Afternoon is coming fast. The reeds rustle. Somewhere, a drum beats from the temple complex. Someone important has arrived. Probably not to thank the laundry workers. A shadow moves over your hands. You look up. A hawk circles overhead. Broad wings, black tips, then gone. Omen, maybe, many points. That's the same one I saw this morning. It's a hawk, not your cousin. He shrugs. Still might be watching. You gather the last of the folded robes and stack them in your reed crate. The wood creaks with the weight. You tighten the bindings with a simple knot, your mother's knot. Secure. discreet, and easy to untie even with wrinkled hands. You glance back at the line, one last tunic still drying, its edges fluttering like it wants to fly. Let it, just not today. You crouch beside the river, basket at your side, and reach into your satchel for the day's offering. It's not required. No one forces you, but every washer along this stretch of the Nile knows the unspoken rule. You give the river something back, or it might decide to take more than just your sweat. Today, your offering is modest. A crust of bread from yesterday's breakfast, a flower plucked from the temple ditch, technically forbidden. But you were discreet, and a few whispered words. You slide them into the current one by one. The bread floats, then swirls and vanishes. The flower clings to the surface longer, spinning slowly before sinking like a thought half-finished. You press your palm to the water and murmur, "Thank you for not swallowing my bundle, snapping at my feet, or making my soap smell like dead fish." The river doesn't answer, but the reeds sigh, and the current licks at your fingers like it's amused. Around you, other washers make their own offerings. Bits of old dates, prayers, even broken amulets. Amira tosses in a tiny mirror shard, glinting once before vanishing. "I heard if the Nile likes your offering," she says, "it'll bring you a dream of your future husband." You raise an eyebrow. "Last time I tried that, I dreamed of a donkey with a bad haircut." She smirks. "Sounds accurate." You look upstream. The water's busy today. More voices, more washing crews, temple laundresses, private households, even a few children sent out with buckets bigger than their heads. There's a rhythm to it all. The whole river becomes a laundromat the size of a kingdom. You start the next load. These belong to a tax collector's wife, expensive, but not royal, dyed trim, silver thread that catches the light. You scrub carefully, but the scent hits you like an insult. Spoiled perfume and panic sweat. You sigh. Someone had a bad visit. Historians often write about the Nile as a source of life irrigation, transport, harvest. What they don't mention is how often the Nile functioned as the kingdom's massive, open-air cleaning system. Some rituals even required garments to be washed in flowing river water. Not well water, something about symbolic motion, about letting the stain truly leave. But today, the only symbolism is how hard this woman sweated in her expensive tunic. You scrub at the collar like you're trying to erase the memory of whatever conversation caused it. Across the bank, an older washerwoman is singing. Her voice is cracked but warm, singing something ancient, far older than the temple hymns. A song passed through generations, maybe never written down. You hum along without knowing the words. The melody clings to your bones like river salt. Manny flops beside you again, grinning. "Wanna see what I offered?" You nod. He opens his palm inside as a tiny clay frog. You blink. "That's actually sweet." He beams. "I made it from Nile mud and my thumb." You shake your head, smiling. "Careful. The river might give you a frog for a wife." He looks horrified for a moment, then thoughtful. "Do frogs clean?" You laugh, loudly. The kind of laugh that makes your ribs ache and your eyes squint. You haven't laughed like that in days. Then you glance down. One of the robes in your rinse basket is gone. You scramble, hands flailing through water, eyes darting. The current is deceptively slow, but tricky. A garment can vanish in seconds if it slips past your feet. You spot it wedged between two reeds, caught on a submerged branch. You wade in, water climbing to your thighs, and grab it. It's still there. Safe, except not yours. You pull it up. It's deep gray, almost black, with gold thread in the hem. You didn't have anything like this today. You turn it in your hands. Strange embroidery on the back and eye inside a triangle. You feel someone watching. You spin. No one's paying attention. You set the robe aside. Ask Manny, "Whose load is this?" He shakes his head. "Not from our crew." You glance around. A few new washers you haven't seen before are unpacking bundles farther down the bank. Maybe one of theirs. Still, the symbol unsettles you. Amira sees your face and frowns. What is it? You show her the robe. She stiffens. That's House of Reket, Temple of the Shadow Tongue. You blink. That's not real. It's not official, she says, but it's real. She lowers her voice. They say the garments there aren't just sacred, they're binding. You glance down at the robe again. The threadwork seems to move under the light, like breath caught in fabric. You wrap it in a clean cloth and set it aside. Maybe someone will come looking. You hope they don't. A fish jumps. You flinch. The river never forgets, they say. Even if you do, you rinse your hands slowly, whispering another offering under your breath. Not bread, not petals, just fear and curiosity. Maybe that counts. You've barely wrung out your thoughts when the next robe stares back at you like an accusation. It's innocent enough a fine tunic. Pale linen, standard temple issue, but right in the center of the hem, glaring like a beacon, is a deep burgundy blotch. You freeze. Wine. Not ordinary tavern wine either, this is the rich, purple stuff. They pour from ceremonial jugs, the kind that leaves the stain so stubborn it practically files a property claim. You look around. Nobody else is paying attention. Yet, you squint at the tag. A small reed slip looped through the seam. Temple of Sobek. Of course, the crocodile god. Because everything you touch today needs teeth. You mutter, just once. I'd like to scrub something that wasn't involved in a ritual, a scandal, or both. You kneel, set the tunic over your thigh, and dip your cloth in warm lye. First, scrub. Nothing. Second, the stain darkens. Third, it spreads. You stop. Stare. Please. You whisper. Not today. Wine stains are unpredictable. Sometimes they lift like a guilty child. Sometimes they root deep like family curses. You rub harder, switching from cloth to soap lump, using the edge to scrape without tearing. The fabric groans. You mutter another washer's charm, not temple approved. More like passed down by grumpy ant. Read into reed. Read into reed. Take the shame and make it leave. Nothing. Amira glances over. You look like you're fighting a ghost. I might be. Wine. Temple wine. Oof. Good luck. You soak it again, this time with a splash of your precious ashwater mix. Normally you'd save it for noble wear, but this stain is a statement. Historians still argue whether temple garments were laundered differently from domestic robes, if they had secret cleansing agents or rites. Some records suggest priests recited hymns while washing. Others mention offerings burned over steam baths. All you have is sand, soap, and panic. You try a trick you learned from a desert washer near Thebes. Use a fig leaf, rubbed in circles. Supposedly, the enzymes help. Supposedly, you find a leaf. Rub. Wait. The stain lightens. Barely. Just enough to whisper, keep going. So you do. You scrub until your wrists tingle, until your breath shortens, until you can't tell if your knees are soaked from the river or from your own sweat. And finally, the blotch fades to a ghost of itself. It's still there, but fainter. You can live with faint. You rinse. Carefully, cradle the tunic like it's a bruised dove and lay it on the line in the sunniest spot, hoping the light will bleach the rest. You sit back, exhale, and realize you've clenched your jaw so tight your teeth hurt. Want some date paste? Manny asks, holding up a mashed lump on a leaf. You blink. Is that food? Mostly. You accept it. It's sticky, sweet, oddly comforting. Your stomach stops growling long enough to thank you. Then you hear footsteps. Not the slap of sandals, not the patter of barefoot boys. These are heavy, intentional. You turn. Two temple guards in linen armor, hands resting near their hip baton loops. Everyone quiets. The guards scan the banks like they're smelling the wind. Then one steps forward, voice flat. We're searching for a stained tunic. From the Sobek rite, it was defiled. You freeze. The wine robe. You swallow. Say nothing. Someone nearby mutters, what does defiled mean? The other guard answers, used without blessing, stained with impurity. It must be burned. Your mouth goes dry. You glance at the line. The tunic flutters there, neat, quiet, almost innocent now. You could say nothing. Let them find it. Let them burn it. Let the stain disappear like it was never there. But that would mean someone gets blamed. Maybe you, maybe Amira, maybe many. You step forward. I have it. You say, I was washing it. The first guard narrows his eyes. Without approval, you shake your head. It was in our delivery. I didn't know. He steps closer, examines your hands, your basin, then the tunic. It's still stained. He mutters. You nod. A little. I did what I could. He takes the tunic down, folds it with strange reverence, as if it were alive. Then he says the oddest thing. Thank you for not hiding it. You blink. I thought you'd punish me. He shakes his head. It's not your stain, only your burden. And they leave. Just like that. You stare after them, heart hammering. Okay, Many says, breaking the silence. That was weird. You laugh. A nervous, airless thing. Weirder than the goose curse. Much weirder, he says. At least geese don't talk about burden sharing. Amira nudges you. Guess that stain wasn't just wine. You nod. Slow, the river laps gently. The breeze returns. And somewhere, deep in the reeds, a frog croaks long and low, like it's laughing at all of you. You rinse your hands. Again. Not because they're dirty, but because you need to feel the river take something away. You don't trust the silence that follows. When guards leave, they tend to take noise with them, like they scoop it up in their sandals and stomp off with it. The chatter doesn't resume. The breeze stops, even the river hushes just a little, enough for you to notice. You stack the next batch of wraps without thinking. Fold, sort, sigh, but the weight of what just happened lingers like soap in a fresh cut. You're barely into the next garment when you hear it. A single word barked like a whip crack. Inspection. You freeze. Amira groans under her breath. Already, you exchange looks. You knew this was coming. The inspection Sepha warned you about. Temple robes, linen from noble houses, and the dreaded sniff test. The inspectors arrive in a knot of 3. 2 women in clean shifts and polished braids, and a man with a face like he's allergic to sunlight and fun. Each wears the badge of the Washers Guild, embroidered circles and crossed paddles. You stand, so does everyone else along the riverbank. Many vanishes like a cricket into the reeds. The lead inspector walks straight to your drying line. Doesn't greet you, doesn't smile, just lifts the first tunic with 2 fingers and brings it to her nose. Sniff. Pause. She turns it over, rubs the collar, flicks the hem like she's checking for fleas. You watch, trying not to hold your breath. Acceptable, she mutters. Next item. Sniff. Rub. Glare. Stiff. Next. Good texture. Folded wrong. You flinch. The fold was yours. You thought it was fine. Historians rarely describe these laundry inspections, probably because they're too absurd to record properly grown adults sniffing undergarments for ritual clarity and yelling about hems, but in laundry culture, it's serious. A failed inspection means reduced rations, revoked privileges, or worst of all, reassignment to latrine washing duty. You glance at the inspector's belt. A thin rod dangles from it, not for striking, just for poking, prodding, and occasionally tapping a worker's foot if they're slouching in spirit. Your spirit straightens up immediately. She reaches the wine-stained tunic's neighbor, a temple robe. Still damp at the edges, she lifts it, sniff, pauses longer than usual, then says, "This smells like soap." You blink. That's good, isn't it? She narrows her eyes. It's supposed to smell like nothing. You want to reply. You really do. Something witty, something dry. But all that comes out is, "I'll try less next time." Amira inhales sharply. A warning. The inspector stares you down. Then, to your shock, laughs, just once, like a hiccup with eyebrows. "Passable," she says, and moves on. You exhale so hard you nearly faint. After 3 more tunics and 1 mysterious sniff of the air around your basket, the inspection knot departs, trailing judgment and sandal dust in their wake. Once they're out of earshot, the riverbank explodes in whispers. "What did she say about yours? Too crisp. Can you believe that? She told me my rinse was smug. What does that mean?" You sit down hard, arms limp at your sides. Amira flops beside you, shoulders shaking with suppressed laughter. "You really told her you'd try less." You nod. "I think I blacked out." She grins. Legend. Many reappears, soaked, with a twig in his hair. "Did they poke anyone?" You shake your head. "Not this time." He pouts. "I was ready." You chuckle. Then glance back at your line. The tunics are still there, fluttering like flags of survival. You pull the next load closer. The tag reads, "Property of the scribe's quarters. Outer robes, night shifts, private linens." You groan. Scribe linens are infamous not for being messy, but for being particular. The scribes use a mixture of ink, honey paste, and something they call divine powder, which somehow manages to stain before it touches fabric. You lift the first robe. It's soft, well woven, and dotted with little black flecks ink bursts, like spiders caught mid-sneeze. You whisper, "Okay, robe, you and me. We're going to get through this without tears or ghosts." The robe does not reply. It never does, but it sags in your arms like it's already given up. You dip it in the warm basin, add a splash of the remaining pink root soap, and start scrubbing. Ink stains are like temple rumors, easy to make, impossible to erase. You rub gently at first. The flecks fade slightly, but there's a long streak down one side that looks less like an accident and more like someone used the robe as a bookmark. You mutter, "Was the papyrus not papyrusy enough?" Amira leans over. "Try lemonweed." Dab. Don't scrub. You pluck a sprig from the river's edge, crush it between your fingers, and dab the robe carefully. It works a little. You smile, then sigh, then sneeze. The lemonweed hits your sinuses like a chariot. You wheeze, wipe your face, and drop the sprig like it bit you. Many applauds. New record. You dab your eyes, laughing and coughing at once. Back to work. More robes, more stains, more little mysteries. One has writing along the seam, just a word. Recall. Another smells like cinnamon. One horrifyingly seems to hum when folded. You fold it again. Silence. You do it a third time. Hum. You set it aside. Nope. You say, "Not today." Lunch doesn't come all at once. It creeps in slowly, like the steam off a kettle you didn't know was boiling. Someone unpacks a bundle of lentil cakes wrapped in palm leaves. Someone else spreads out a reed mat covered in fig slices, onion wedges, and something suspiciously fish-shaped that smells like ambition and regret. You sit on the stone ledge near your drying line, arms dangling like wilted garlands, fingers still puckered and raw. Amira drops beside you, tossing you half a cracked barley cake. "Don't say I never give you anything," she says, already chewing her half. You bite into yours. It's dry enough to count as building material, but it's food. Your stomach doesn't care. Many sprawls in the dirt, munching on roasted chickpeas he claims to have definitely not stolen from the temple kitchen. He offers you 3, grinning like a prince. The air grows thick with spice and smoke from cook fires upriver. Even the birds seem full, or just bored. You exhale. Stretch. Allow yourself to feel the ache of your body instead of ignoring it. You ever wonder, Amira asks, what happens to the cloth after we clean it? You shrug. Someone wears it. Someone praises it. Someone stains it again. No, I mean, does it remember us? Us, not them. You consider that a robe scrubbed clean, worn by someone rich, maybe blessed, then stored away in a cedar box, never knowing who rescued it from pit sweat and beetle eggs. Maybe, you say, maybe they dream of us, wrinkled ghosts with soap-slick hands. She grins, better than dreaming of scribes. Just then, a voice cuts through the hum of lunch. Hey! You turn. A young man in dusty robes stands at the edge of the reed path, holding something up. I need this washed, urgently. Today, you groan internally. He steps forward, placing the bundle at your feet. You open it. It's silk, foreign silk, bright crimson, threaded with gold dragons and symbols you don't recognize. It's not Egyptian, not even close. You stare at it like it might bite. Where did you get this? Amira whispers. Trade ship. The man says, arrived from the east. The merchant wants it ready before sunset. You touch the fabric. It's slippery and delicate, nothing like linen. You could tear it just by breathing wrong. Why us? You ask. The man shrugs. Because palace laundresses refuse to touch it. Said it's cursed. You and Amira exchange a look. Of course it is, she mutters. He hands you a silver bead. Payment. Then vanishes into the reeds like a question you're too tired to answer. You stare at the silk. Okay. You sigh. We're doing this. You fetch the cleanest basin. You use new water. You ask many to bring you lotus oil and not eat it on the way. The silk doesn't smell bad. In fact, it smells like wood smoke and citrus. But there's something off about it, something that makes your neck itch. You soak it gently, whispering a soft chant with no meaning. Just rhythm. River smooth, river kind. Let no thread unwind. You dab. Not scrub. Swirl. Not slap. It's like washing fog. Amira hovers. You're better at this than me. You snort, because I'm terrified. The robe turns the water pink, not blood pink, just pigment. Still, your stomach tightens. Is that dye? She asks. Better be. You rinse it twice, then lay it flat on a dry reed mat. patting it with crushed papyrus and smoothing every fold like you're tucking in royalty. Many circles it warily. If it gets up and walks away, he says, "I'm leaving Egypt." "You're not in Egypt," Amira snaps. "You're in denial." He grins. The denial. You all groan, then fall silent. Watching the silk dry, it glistens in the sun like it doesn't belong here, like it remembers being somewhere else entirely. You don't touch it again. You eat the rest of your lunch with quiet reverence. Even the chickpeas seem humbled. After a while, someone down the bank starts humming again. The same song from earlier, the one without words. It loops lazily through the air, sliding into your ears like warm river silt. You lean back. The sun kisses your forehead. Your hands stop twitching. And for the first time since dawn, the river doesn't feel like it's rushing past. It feels like it's waiting. The silk is gone by the time you return from refilling your water gourd. Not stolen, just collected. The merchant's boy must have taken it. There's a hollow in the reed mat where it lay, and a small clay bead left in its place, a token of thanks, or maybe just a weight to keep the ghost of the robe from flying away. You pocket the bead. Back to work. The next load is temple robes. Again. But these are different, marked with a blue crescent stitched near the collar. You recognize the symbol. Garments designated for purification rites, which means high stakes, high expectations, and high amounts of secret sweat. You haul the first one into your lap. White. Lightweight. Embroidered only at the edges. Looks harmless. It's not. You bring it to your nose, smells like frankincense, old wax, and onion. You blink. Try again. Definitely onion. You sigh. Ritual feast. Amira glances over. Or priest nap. You dip it into the rinse basin and watch the water ripple. Something about these robes always makes you nervous. They're worn during ceremonies that are supposed to call gods down from the sky or awaken dead kings. You're not convinced a little scrub and sunlight can undo all that energy. You work slowly, using fine ash soap and soft cloth. No paddles, no scrubbing stones. Just the delicate pinch and twist method, an old trick from washer lines near Abydos, where they believe every garment is halfway alive. As you rinse, you whisper the soft wash chant. Salt, ash, breath and reed let the fiber come to peace. No one told you to say it. You just always do, especially for these robes. Historians often argue whether laundry was part of sacred rituals or just the cleanup afterward. But if you ask any washer who's worked temple linen, they'll tell you the garment remembers. Even after the stain is gone, you flip the robe gently. There, on the inner lining, is a reddish streak, barely visible. It might be wine, or oil, or blood. You don't ask. You just begin. A reed shade passes over you. You look up. An old woman is standing nearby, arms folded, eyes sharp. She's not temple, not guild, just old. Don't forget the underfold, she says. They always miss the underfold. You nod automatically. Yes, elder. She doesn't smile, doesn't even blink. Just stares at the garment like it owes her something. Then she walks away, vanishing into the reeds without a sound. You glance back at the robe. Check the underfold. There it is, another streak. Darker this time, like dried sap. You scrub it gently, biting your lip. Amira steps closer. Who was that? No idea. She shrugs. Creepy. You nod. Helpful. The sun leans westward now. Light filters through the papyrus with golden fingers. You can hear insects beginning their afternoon songs. Everything is hotter, louder, slower. The next robe has a tear. You pause. Small rip near the hip seam. Easy fix. But it wasn't listed. You turn it over. There's a stitched emblem of the ibis god, Thoth, a scribe's robe. You remember this one. It was in your pile 3 days ago. You sent it off clean, whole. Now it's back. Torn. Dirty. You frown. They wore it again before cleansing. Amira peers over. Looks like they rolled in flour and then took a nap in a charcoal pit. You trace the tear. Not sharp, more like a rip from stress. Pulled too hard while walking. Maybe. Or running. You hesitate. This robe has a story now. You begin the wash anyway, folding the tear inward to avoid widening it. As you work, your mind drifts. You imagine the priest or scribe who wore it, what he saw, why he ran, why he didn't wait to purify the linen before reusing it. You imagine him panicking, stumbling, ripping the robe on a stone, forgetting to chant the ending phrase. You shake your head. Too many stories. But it's how you survive, isn't it? These robes, These tunics, they're your scrolls. You read the stains like scribes read ink. Every fold is a verse. Every tear a footnote. You rinse the robe and lay it flat on your lap. The rip is barely visible now. You murmur, "If I fix you, remember me." The robe, naturally, says nothing, but a breeze stirs. Light catches the gold thread on the edge. Just a flicker, just enough. You reach for the next one. It smells like camphor and rain. It's going to be a good wash. You ease the camphor-scented robe into your basin and feel the river sigh beneath your hands. This one's heavier than it looks. A thick ceremonial outer wrap, layered and lined. Probably worn during processions where the wearer didn't walk so much as glide carried by servants. Lifted above the mud and noise of the world. You know, and yet, here it is, soaked and slumped across your thighs like any other fabric. You work slowly, fingertips tracing the stitched lotus blossoms along the hem. They're slightly charred at the edges, a procession too close to a torch, maybe, or a blessing gone wrong. You whisper as you scrub. River wide, river old. Let this cloth forget the fire. Amira joins you, settling onto the stone with a long sigh. "How's royalty?" she asks, eyeing the robe. "Flammable." She chuckles. "Aren't we all?" You grin. The tension from earlier has drained, faded like a washed stain. Even the river feels lighter now, like it's breathing in step with your work. You rinse the robe and lay it on a padded rack to dry. The breeze catches the edges and lifts them slightly, like the fabric wants to escape, but remembers it still has drying to do. The next step is the drying lines. Long cords tied between thorned posts and driftwood stakes, all sagging slightly under the weight of the day's labors. You join the others threading damp garments onto the cords. The sun is sharp now, not hot, exactly, just insistent. It bakes the cloth dry in minutes, and your hands along with it. The desert wind picks up, swirling dust across the riverbank, snapping linen corners like tiny flags of surrender. You duck a robe that flaps into your face and mutter, "Settle down." You windy ghost. Across from you, Many is using a flattened basket lid as a fan. "These robes are too dry," he declares. "They're judging me." You grin. "They judge everyone." He nods solemnly. One of them just whispered something rude. Amira laughs, nearly dropping her tunic. But not everything flaps so playfully. At the far end of the line, one robe doesn't sway. You squint at it. A long, narrow priest's wrap, dyed bone white, perfectly still. No movement, no rustle, even as the wind tugs every other piece of cloth into a wild dance. You step toward it. The air feels colder here, not freezing, just off, like walking into a shadow without realizing it. You reach out, touch the robe. It's dry, crisp, completely still. You scan the seam, no symbol, no mark, no emblem, just 3 small holes near the hem. Not tears, punctures. You step back, unsettled. "Who washed this?" You ask. No one answers. Many shrugs. "Not me." Amira frowns. "I thought that was from the northern pile. Might have been left from yesterday." You stare at it. The holes are deliberate. Ritual placement. Maybe, or something worse. You take it down, fold it carefully, and tuck it into the basket marked for temple returns. Let someone else deal with it. Let it belong to silence. Back at your spot, you start the final rinse of your remaining load. This is the most satisfying part, not because it's easier, but because it feels like closure. Rinsing means the fabric has survived. It's passed through ash, soap, sweat, fire, and hands. And now, it returns to the river one last time. For clarity, you swirl the water gently, watching the soap lift from the linen in cloudy trails, like ghosts unspooling into the current. It's beautiful, in a strange way, meditative. You glance at your hands, wrinkled, red, lined with tiny cuts from the sand and the cloth fibers, but strong. You dip them into the rinse basin and hold them there, letting the Nile cool your bones. Someone upstream begins a soft chant. It's the end-of-day song, passed from washer to washer over generations. A slow, steady rhythm, part lullaby, part exhale, part thank you. You join in, quietly. Bend the cloth and fold the sun. Ring the day till work is done. River wash and river know where the cleanest linens go. The others pick it up. Amira's voice low and sure. Many's off-key but enthusiastic. Even the gulls go quiet. The wind settles, the linen hangs still, and for a moment, There is nothing but breath, river, and song. You wring out the final tunic and fold it into your basket. It's not perfect. It never is. There's always a spot, a thread, a wrinkle, but you've done your part. The Nile can take it from here. You lift the final rinse basket and begin the long, slow walk toward the drying lines, this time with robes meant for temple figures so high up. You've never even seen their faces. These aren't the ordinary whites or ritual wraps. These are consecrated. How can you tell? First, they smell like frankincense, goat's milk, and something you can only describe as expensive decisions. Second, they are tagged with woven thread tokens, marked in script you're not meant to read. And third most telling, they come with notes. You glance at the one tied to the top robe in your basket. The ink is neat, the handwriting careful. Do not expose this garment to direct sun. Dry over myrrh smoke only. You stare at it, then glance around at the wide-open riverbank, the blazing sun, and the complete absence of anyone burning sacred myrrh just for your convenience. Of course, you mutter, nothing's ever simple. You pause, think, and then, because this isn't your first mystery robe, you find a way. A patch of reeds nearby has grown so thick that it creates its own shade. You've seen girls hide there before to nap or snack unseen. You clear the space carefully, lay down a clean reed mat, and place the robe there gently, folding it in thirds. Then you take out the emergency, your pouch of crushed myrrh resin. You weren't supposed to take it from the offering bowl last month, but the priest had turned his back and, well, sometimes a launderer must be pragmatic. You light the resin in a shallow clay dish. Smoke curls upward, sweet, thick, sticky as syrup. You place the bowl near the robe, watching the wisps dance through the air like slow questions. Happy now, you whisper. The robe doesn't reply, but the folds seem to relax. Back at the main drying line, Amira's rehanging a fallen tunic and swatting flies like she's leading a battle campaign. Smoke drying. She asks, eyeing the setup. You nod. Special instructions. She grins. Should I be offended? None of my clothes ever got that treatment. You want your shift to smell like temple rituals? She pauses. Actually, no. You both laugh. The kind that comes from too many hours in the sun and too many conversations with cloths. The wind picks up again just enough to ripple the drying robes and send a few gulls scrambling. Then, a scream. Sharp, high, panicked. You spin. It's coming from the upper ridge near the back path. A delivery boy no older than many running, his arms flailing, his basket tipped, tunics scattering behind him like breadcrumbs. You and Amira run. When you reach him, he's pointing at the edge of the path, breathing hard. It moved. He yells, "The cloth!" I swear. You frown. You follow his shaking finger. At the base of a small date palm is a discarded robe, not moving now, just lying in a heap, but your stomach sinks. You recognize the stitch pattern. That's the triangle eye symbol again. The one from the unknown robe you pulled from the river earlier. It's not supposed to be here. You kneel, nudge it with a reed stick. It shifts limply. No wind, no movement. Still, Amira arrives behind you. What is that doing here? You shake your head. It was already returned. I folded it into the temple return crate myself. Then how? She stops. The robe twitches. Just a ripple, a breath. No one breathes. Many, who has clearly followed you, whispers. Did it? Sigh. You all step back. The air gets thick. The boy crosses himself with a gesture you've only seen temple guards make during funerals. You swallow. Okay. Nobody panic. Many. Too late. You kneel again. Carefully. Slowly. You touch the robe with both hands. Cool. Not wet. You lift it. Underneath, nothing. Just dry grass and a small bundle of reeds. No, not reeds. Paper. Folded tightly. Bound with linen thread. You lift it free. Heart in your throat. Amira hisses. Don't open that. But you already are. Inside, a scrap of inked linen. Writing. Tiny. Dense. Not meant for you. You can't read it. But you recognize a name at the bottom. Rayket. You drop the paper. Stand up. Step back. You wrap the robe again. Fold it 3 times. And without a word, carry it to the fire pit. Burning it. Amira whispers. You nod. I thought we weren't allowed. I don't care. You set the cloth into the pit, strike your flint, light the edge. The fabric resists, then catches. The flame twists green, and then it's gone. No smoke, no ash, Just silence. Many whispers. I think I like the goose curse better. You nod. Then return to your shaded robe, the one waiting over myrrh smoke. Far from anything that whispers. It's dry now. And quiet. You fold it gently. This time, with a prayer. Not the funny kind. Not the clever kind. Just one line. Spoken softly to no one in particular. Let the linen forget what the river remembers. You return to the bank slower now. The robe is gone. The fire is out. But something clings to you, a trace of heat. Or maybe memory. You've washed away many things. But some stains live in your bones. Still, there's work to do. Always. The day is starting to slope toward dusk. Shadows stretch longer. Colors soften. The buzz of the reeds grows louder, as if the river itself is murmuring about everything it's seen today. You reach for the final rinse load, just a few pieces left. A shoulder wrap, a child's tunic, and a large ceremonial sash with gold-dyed edging. All safe, all clean. You begin with the sash. It's heavy, thickly woven, meant to cross the chest diagonally. Probably worn by a temple attendant or a noble during a festival. You dip it in the rinse basin and smile faintly at the familiar weight. This cloth has no secrets, no size, just too much embroidery and not enough flexibility. As you wring it out, a familiar voice calls from up the path. Inspection's back. You groan. Now, many nods, breathless. New team. Guild elites. You roll your eyes. Because laundry isn't stressful enough. You lay the sash carefully over the line and prepare yourself. Straighten your drying mat. Align the folded tunics. Even smooth your own shift. What little good that does. Then they arrive. Not 3 inspectors this time. 5. All robed in white, with polished guild emblems and their own shadow. A silent attendant walking behind them, carrying a ledger. That's when you know it's serious. They're not just here to check creases. They're here to evaluate people. The lead inspector, a woman with deep lines on her face and gold cuffs around each wrist, stops directly in front of you. Name? She asks. Voice like sunburn. You say it. Specialization. Ritual robes. Outerwear, undergarments on request. She glances at the ledger attendant, who scribbles without looking up. She begins the walkthrough. First, tunic. Sniffed. Shaken. Examined under the light. Acceptable. Second, flipped inside out. Rushed. Stitching. You blink. I don't do stitching. She raises an eyebrow, but you folded it, right? Your fold was too tight. It tugged the seam. Rookie mistake. Next, ceremonial sash. She lifts it, turns it over, fingers the gold edging. Then, without warning, presses the fabric to her cheek. A pause. Then she nods, balanced, softened, cleaned without bruising. You exhale. She marks something in the air, not a gesture, a symbol, a flick of the fingers that only guild members use. Then she steps back. You'll report to the upper banks tomorrow. She says, new station, new category. You blink. Wait, what? You've been reassigned. Is that punishment? Amira whispers behind you. Promotion. Idiot. You look at the inspector again. She's already moved on. Many mouths. You're in the guild now. Your knees go weak. You sit. I didn't apply, you mutter. Amira shrugs. You don't always have to. She points at the drying line. That sash, you tamed it. They notice that kind of thing. You glance up. The cloth hangs peacefully, like it knows something you don't. Later, when the inspectors are gone and the sun begins to dip behind the date palms, you find a small wrapped parcel at your drying mat. A reed-tied bundle with your name etched in oil on the outside. You open it. Inside, 2 clay tokens marked with the guild seal. One for food, one for soap, and beneath them, a scrap of papyrus, handwritten, neat script. The river sees, and you've been seen. You turn the note over. No signature, just a tiny pressed flower tucked into the fold. A Nile bloom, pale blue, unusual for the season. Amira sees it and whistles low. Someone important likes your folding. You snort. They can have my spine if they want it. I'm keeping my rinse method. She nudges you. Don't say that too loud. The guild might take you up on it. You both laugh. The last loads are drying now. The line sags under their weight, and your muscles ache with the same steady pull. One of the little girls from Dock 9 brings you a basket of coal cakes wrapped in a faded temple cloth. From my mother, she says. She says you saved her robe last month. You thank her. Press the cloth to your cheek, still faintly scented with lotus and ginger, and wave as she runs off, bare feet kicking up dust. You sit, eat. Watch the sky melt into rose and violet. You let the day's labor sink into your skin like sunlight. You were up before dawn. You scrubbed, rinsed, soothed, and soothed again. You whispered to the river, and it answered you not with words, but with stillness, with breath, with acknowledgement. And now the Nile turns gold, and you turn your face to the wind, eyes closed, and say the one thing you always say when the day is done: let them wear what I've touched, and not know my name. That's enough. By now, the light is soft enough to feel like a lullaby. The last of the robes hang like whispers across the lines dry, folded, scented with sun and silence. The river glows bronze, catching slivers of sky in its ripples. You sit with your knees pulled to your chest, arms wrapped around them, watching steam rise from your rinse basin as the evening cool begins to settle in. No one speaks much anymore. The others are packing up, folding reed mats, emptying basins, stacking wooden paddles. You hear Manny somewhere behind you, softly humming a tune he's probably inventing on the spot. You don't move yet. Instead, you lift your hands and study them. The creases are deep, your nails are rimmed with earth, the joints are puffy from effort and soaked hours. But these hands, your hands have saved linens, erased shame, carried memory, and tomorrow they'll do it again. Amira sits beside you, dropping down with the sigh of someone who gave the day everything she had. You're back, okay? She asks. Define okay. She snorts. You both stare at the water for a moment. Then she says, you know, we don't really clean the robes. You glance over. What? She shrugs. We clean the day off them. The fears, the secrets, the sweat, the prayers that didn't work. We give the linen back its breath. You nod. That sounds true. You reach for the final piece of the day. A wrap cloth meant for tomorrow's sunrise offering. It's small, but important. It must be spotless, crease-free, and warm from the sun when returned. You lift it gently, but you don't take it to the line. Instead, you fold it carefully into your lap and just sit. Let it rest with you. Let the linen feel what quiet means. Somewhere down the path, you hear footsteps retreating, inspectors, workers, cart pullers, all disappearing into the amber shadows of the closing day. You and Amira are the last ones left. A few gulls circle once overhead, then glide downriver toward the docks. A frog croaks, the reeds sway, and then it's just the two of you and the Nile. Amira nudges you. You going to take that new post tomorrow? You shrug. I guess. She nods. They'll probably give you special robes, rare stains, fancier ghosts. You smirk. Let them try me. She stretches, groans, and stands. Come on. We'll walk back together. You rise slowly, legs stiff from sitting, and gather your things. The folded cloth, the clay tokens, the empty basin. You begin the slow walk home. Through reed shadows and crooked fig trees, past the crooked stones you scrubbed on this morning, past the water you begged for mercy from. You murmur a quiet farewell as you pass the place where you offered petals to the Nile. Thanks for not eating me, you say under your breath. Amira hears. She doesn't laugh. She just says, same. When you reach the last curve of the path, you both stop and look back, at the robe still swinging gently, at the stones still warm with daylight, at the river gliding past like it has better things to do but might just remember your name tomorrow. You lift one hand in parting. The river, true to form, does not wave back, but it doesn't take anything either, so you count that as kindness. You turn, adjust your basket on your hip, and begin the climb home. Not a parade, not a triumph, just a quiet return. Your hands are tired, your heart is steady, and tomorrow, the linen will come again. But for tonight, you walk in silence, and the Nile lets you go. Now, everything slows. The sun has slipped beneath the horizon, leaving only smudges of gold across the Nile. The reeds barely move. Even the frogs have grown quiet, their songs soft as breath. You're walking home through shadow now. Warm earth beneath your feet, the smell of river and smoke clinging gently to your skin. The work is done. The baskets are light. The cloth is folded. The river, for all its power and memory, asks nothing more from you tonight. You pass sleeping huts, dim oil lamps, a dog curled beside a worn sandal, and you feel it. Peace, not from ease, but from effort. From a day that took everything and gave back quiet, your muscles ache. but they ache, right? Your hands are sore, but they belong to you. Yeah. You think of the robes hanging back on the lines, silent now. You think of the laughter by the water, the jokes, the songs, the small miracles and strange cloth with eyes that didn't blink. You think of how every garment you touch today now rests cleaner than when it arrived. And maybe, just maybe, you do too. So, close your eyes now. Let the water still. Let the night hold you like folded cloths. You don't have to scrub anymore. You don't have to remember every stain. Just drift. Just breathe. Just let it go. The Nile is quiet now, and you are free.